Hi guys, welcome to a really quick tutorial talking about maybe doing some like tabletop studio photography using a small fish tank, which I'll come on to in a second. And this video is just spurred from a video I watched Thomas Heaton, who's doing something similar in his kitchen using some continuous lighting, and I went and commented saying that he could maybe try to do a few things differently, and I thought, well, if I'm going to talk the talk, may as well obviously walk the walk, as they say. It's a bit cliche, isn't it? And just basically make a video showing you guys my little setup by here and how I go about taking pictures. Okay, so this is the small fish tank which Thomas was using. I've had this for absolute ages, sat under the stairs. I think I picked it up in Home Bargains for like £10, so it's not expensive at all. Obviously the only issue now is getting there to get one with the isolation lockdown that we're in. I'm not sure if you can see it by here, but there are it's a line which is being cut in half, and this pencil is only here because this is what I used to focus the camera. So once the camera was focused, it was then dropped into manual focus to lock it in. Okay, so anyway, living room, one big camera bag by there. I'll probably talk about that on a different video. And the covers on the sofa by here, just because it's my living room and the dog likes to eat the sofa, literally tries to eat it, so the covers are there to stop him from eating my sofa, even though his bed is there. Okay, so this is the fish tank from the other side by here, and what I've got is this white piece of, it's almost like a foam board. I think I picked these up, they were like 3 for £10 in Hobbycraft. And that is obviously what's on the bottom by here as well as the back, so it literally just turns it then into like a little sort of high-key studio with the fish tank there. Nice big softbox by here then, just to have nice even lighting. One thing that I did notice, if I don't use a softbox and I just use a flash bare, it does obviously cause a nasty reflection in the glass, so if I use this, it just softens that out so we don't end up then with nasty glare on the front of the tank. So in here then is my Pentax 540 FGZ 2. This is set, was turned off at the moment. This is set on manual power to 132 power. And then I've got this other flash gun down by here. And I think this flash gun, I'm fairly certain I bought this on the Facebook Marketplace for £10. It's a simple flash gun that has slave mode, and that's set, well, as you can see, it's got these little sort of lights, and it's set to 2 lights, so presuming that's obviously somewhere around about 1/64th power. It's just there just to put a little light in the bottom. Main camera then is the Pentax K1, which has got the Pentax 24-70 lens on there, and of course then the camera and the flash is connected then via an off-camera cord, which I'm fairly certain I think I got from like 7-day shop for about 15 quid. Okay, so to keep everything nice and secure and not move, I've got my Benro B5 ball head by here, which is massive, and I can tell you it is rock solid when it's on these legs, and these are the Benro TMA 37 CL, I think they are. So with the center column removed, with just the short column, as I don't need it. So that's the basic sort of setup then, but there, one camera, one lens, 2 flash guns, one at the bottom set to low power, one actually in the softbox, which is on manual power. There we have then what we're dropping in. And the only thing to mention then is, apart from manual focus, is that the in-body camera stabilization has been turned off, as we don't need that turned on. We're shooting in full manual, and I'll go through the settings in a second. And it's also set to continuous shooting. Because we're using low power flash outputs today, it just means then that we can machine gun mode off frame after frame with the flashes on. So okay, so I'm hoping you can see the back of my camera by here to look at my settings. As I said, I'm in full manual by here. I've set the camera to 100th of a second, and it's at f11 with ISO 100. This by here is not important, the shutter speed, because at the end of the day all we're using here is flash. If I was to turn the flashes off and just fire the shutter, what I'd end up with is a black frame, so the only light which will be used in this exposure will just be flashlight. So the shutter speed is it's not really that important, but it is set to 1/100th of a second, because what I want to do is I want to be able to fire off a couple of images one after the other, and if I set it to, let's say, 1/15th, the picture will be exactly the same because there's no ambient light in here when the lights go off, but the only thing is that it would slow down my continuous shooting. What is important is this by here is the aperture, so I'm currently set at f11. The focus has to be really crucial, because you're working so close, is that if the fruit, when it gets dropped in, moves slightly backwards or forwards, what you're going to end up then is out of focus images. So ideally you want to be trying to shoot it somewhere around about f11 onwards. Other things maybe to look at then, okay, as I said, okay, is the SR being turned off. I'm in auto white balance, and there's absolutely no need for me to be messing with white balance because we're shooting raw and we can adjust that in post-processing. Okay. So as you can see, there's no art to it. It's just a case of holding the fruit probably about 1.5 inches above the water, and trying to make sure you drop the fruit where you focus the camera. Depress the button halfway to activate the metering. Of course, my camera set to back button autofocus, so it won't try and focus. And then just let go and take some pictures. Okay, so once I've got these pictures in the bag, or hopefully I have, we'll find out shortly. Just to finish off, I'm going to actually try and put some of this in the water, but when I put this in the water, I'm going to be using a little syringe to inject it in. So because the lime is green, we've got lemon and lime, which is obviously green and yellow. I've got this yellow acrylic paint, and again, I got a feeling this came from Home Bargains quite a long time ago. I did mention about when you come to inject this in, to mix it up, and I'm hopefully going to show an example why. So this is just this paint by here, which is just put in here. So I am just going to get some, and if I inject it into this water by here, what hopefully you'll see is it's just going to sink to the bottom, like so. And that's not really what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is to make more of a cloud. So I'm going to get this water by here, and I'm going to put it in with the paint, and what I'm looking at to do in here is to mix it up. So mix it up really quickly now. So what I've now got is this yellow water instead. Okay, if I get some of this yellow water that I've just made up, and again I'm going to inject it in, what I should hopefully now have is a better, nice looking cloud. Like so. And that is exactly what I want. So I'm going to just go rescue. No thank you, Alexa. It's a bit random. Okay, yeah, so I am just going to make this up a bit better now. I'll make up a bit more, slightly bigger batch. Then I'm going to show you what I've done to the lime to keep it in place. And then we're going to have a go at injecting this in. So this looks like now it's ready. That now is what I am going to be injecting into the water. Okay, so here is our little lime, and as you can see right now with the lime, it is currently held in place with some bits of cotton that I've just robbed from my wife's sewing box. And there's 2 bits of cotton. In fact, this just come up and hopefully around, and let's have a look. So there's 1 bit of cotton that comes out by here and it's held underneath the backboard on this side. There's 1 bit by here which is currently secured in by the big needle that I just used to stab through there, and there is also 1 on the other side there, which again is tucked in behind here. Now this is probably the most important one by here, because what this one is doing by here, it's stopping that line from sinking. And if we look side on, you can see that it is facing the front, which is the way I want it to. If I didn't have that one at the top, which is this one by here, if it wasn't for that one by there, what would happen is that would obviously sag down like this, and I want to try and keep it propped up. So it's important then that that one's in there to try and keep it up, and the left and right ones are there just to stop it from moving about. So if we go take a look at the camera. Okay, so this is the back of the camera, and as you can see, there's the lime. It's facing forward, and these are the strings which are currently keeping it from being moved about. Now in post-processing we're going to have to remove them, so the actual raw image will have them on. Nothing has changed. The only thing I've done by here is obviously really extended the shutter speed just for live view to be able to actually take a look at what we're doing, but the settings will be exactly the same. The only thing I need to do now, as I twanged it earlier on, is just to make sure that my focus is spot on, which looks like it is. But there, that's all focused brilliantly. So now I'm ready to retake a test shot now, just to make sure that with it facing the way it is, it still looks fine, and then we get to inject that yellow paint. Now the only issue with injecting the yellow paint is that when you put it in, you get 1 shot. So if you do it and it looks completely rubbish, you're going to have to empty all that water out, refill it back up again, reposition obviously whatever it is you're trying to illuminate, and then go again. So it's a bit of a do it at the end of your shoot, and be very careful how you inject it. Again, using the continuous shooting allows us to take multiple pictures, so as you inject, and I recommend trying to inject from like behind, so the clouds of color sort of like envelops, is that a word? Engulfs, that's probably a better word. Engulfs obviously whatever it is that you are injecting around, in which case the lime, that by taking continuous shots then you should end up then with 1 better picture in there. Okay, so it's the following day now, and I've had a bit of a kip, and I've also gone and done some edits, but what I wanted to show you were the raw files then, which I have imported into Lightroom. And I wanted to show you this because what I wanted to look at was the timeline at the bottom by here with the images, because it's all very much a hit and miss process, and that is when you put the limes in and you try and time it. As you can see, sometimes the timing is not great and they're too low to the bottom. The other one by here, loading in but there, where that's not so bad actually, with the time. I quite like the bubbles here. One thing I didn't notice last night was that flash, which is obviously pumping light into the bottom of the fruit, also was causing a bit of reflection here at the bottom of the tank. And so the ones which obviously come a little bit too low down, unfortunately they can't be used. Now some of them obviously I've gone and obviously fired the shutter too soon. Some of them, yeah, a bit too soon on that one there. So as you can see, obviously far too late on this one. So it's very much a hit and miss situation. But if I just quickly filter these now, and I just remove the ones I don't like, what I've got by here are some before and afters. So this one by here, okay, the first picture I took, funny enough, that came in, I quite like that one, but there, and then after a little bit of an edit by here,
with a crop as well. We've obviously gone and got it nice and much bigger in the screen, made it a bit more crisper. Again, this one by here where they've fallen in. There we go. Oh, there we go. A little crop on that one, but there. I'll run through the settings in a second what I've done. This is the one I think which is my favourite image that I shot, and what I really like is at the top you've got, like, if I just move this by here, it just reminds me of rain hitting like a puddle, but you've got these little ripples by here. I really do like that. So anyway, this is obviously the before. This here, okay, is the after shot, he says. There we go. Okay. And then there was one more from the fruit dropping in series that I quite liked, which is this one by here. And again, going in with the crop and just a little bit of post-processing, you know, just really sort of a clean up, tidy up the image by here. And that's all the fruit drop ones I was happy with. These are the ones where I've injected then that paint water mix coming in. And again, all of this has been done in Lightroom. I haven't moved over to Photoshop. It's all done in Lightroom. I'm not actually that bothered about blowing all the highlights. I really actually like the fact that I blow the highlights and make it really high key. So in here then, that's the before with a crop and a bit of an edit afterwards then. This is the after picture. As you can see, you can't see the strings no more. You can't see, like, no, the syringe is all gone. I didn't actually process these ones by here as such and export them out. I was happy with that first image, but I took 3 pictures when I decided to inject then with the paint. In fact, this one by here, and I'll just show you now how this came in originally, like so. So that's the original by there. And then this is the third one as well, but I said I'm quite happy with this first one by here, but as you can see, there's quite a lot of process involved in here. I'm not actually afraid to go and adjust these sliders, like here now, textures turned right up. You know, I'm not afraid to obviously do that if I think that the end picture looks good. At the end of the day, it's personal preference. It's what you actually prefer yourself. If it's not your taste, it's not your taste. It's personal preference. This one by here, again, look, the exposure is being left as it is. Contrast then is being turned up. We've just recurred some shadows. We've increased the whites by here. Black's just turned down just to make it a bit more crisper. Yeah, bit of clarity, bit of texture in there. Bumped up the vibrance and the saturation. Just turned the luminance of the greens down slightly, and the sharpening's been done, and of course lens corrections. One thing obviously which you can't see on here, okay, if I was to go here, okay, to the adjustment brush, you'll probably see it in here then. Yeah, there's one there which covers this area by here because it was a bit grey, so I've just lightened that up but there, and this one by here which is going to cover more of this white area, where there was just a little artifacts that I wasn't too happy with, which is just being removed. So in terms of the actual brush tool, not much processing involved, but I thought it'd be quite handy for you to actually see the images in Lightroom to see what they look like, and to show the fact is that you're not going to get it perfect every time. It's trial and error, repeating process until eventually you find an image that you're happy with. So there we go, that is that. I'll try and put as many links as I can below in the description where I purchased all these bits and pieces from, but just shows what you can do with a couple of speed lights in a living room and a small fish tank. Anyway, stay safe everyone.